Thanks very much, Claire. So a little bit about my role. First of all, it will probably be my responsibility to get the messages from the demonstration farms out to the wider public through articles and videos and technical information. But I suppose first to draw a line under the first phase, I'm joined by Michael Ryan on my left from County Westmeath and Christy Dowd from County Roscommon. Christy, I suppose to start with you, you have experienced dairy farming, you've experienced suckler farming, and now you run a very profitable dairy calf to beef system. Reflecting over the last 3 years of the first phase, what changes have you seen on your farm?
Well, the fertility will rose. I'll say we're pushing more on that end of it, we're pushing more on the grass end of it, trying to get a bit earlier and later use out of it. There's been years where, I'll say last year people were worried about drought in a lot of places. It wasn't a massive problem for us. The wet has been the bigger problem in the last few years, but that's why you'd be moving. I was moving to the likes of the Frisians or the calves. You were going to a smaller beast, you were only hitting the 600 kilos when you were about to go with them, rather than having a cow walking around at 600 kilos all the time. To me that was bigger end of it, getting on top of the health end of it, the keeping the grass greener, cleaner all the time. At times it's easy done and other times it doesn't go that well. There's no point in saying anything different. But to try and get the kilos off the grass, if you're not getting over 200 kilos of your year off grass, you're not going to do much. The winter and silage, even making good silage and all that, it's too costly. So if you're not getting your kilos off your grass, you're going nowhere. That's the way we're looking at it anyway.
Okay. Michael, you also had a lot of success throughout the programme. Starting off, one of your main goals was to make better use of grass and better grass utilisation. How did you go about this?
Well, I suppose initially at the start we soil tested and just to see what was going on, and we just identified what their indexes were, and we fertilised our plan from there. And I suppose from there then we introduced the paddock system, and that was a huge advantage in my opinion. That cattle were restricted and proper graze outs, and we had more grass. We just grew more grass, and we knew where we needed to identify the spots that were low in indexes, stuff like that. But I suppose the paddocks and that sort of thing were a huge addition.
Okay. And was it permanent fencing or was it temporary fencing you would have used?
Well, a bit of both. Anywhere I would have receded a good bit and then where I receded, probably put down more permanent fences, but it's a kind of mix of both. But we still use the strip wires, and they have their advantages too, that sort of way. So.
Okay. Christy, if I could go back to you, I suppose prior to the programme with your dairy experience, you had the skills, some of the skills needed for good grassland management. Some of your paddocks were going 14 tonnes of dry matter per hectare, which is well above the national average on dry stock farms. But I'm sure there was other challenges along the road as well. What advice would you have for the 14 farmers taking on the second phase?
Attention to detail would be a big thing. You can come to all the meetings and they'll tell you everything to do, but unless you can implement it, and you have to pick the stuff that you're worst at, you're gradually going to get better anyway. And we got talking to some great people, came talking for us. And in the first year or two, you didn't know enough to ask them what you needed to get out of them. But you're going to meet great advisors, specialists in different things, and to knock as much as you can out of them while you're at it. Because even now, I'm going back over stuff that I heard in the first year, and I can understand it now, the answers they gave and why they went the way they went, whereas I was skipping stuff and you weren't getting it done. You weren't getting the live weight gain. It's John Hayes there, like everyone says there, that rugby is a game of inches. Like this, the beef is the same thing. If you outdo it all, chock-a-block on the line, and you don't do all the phases, you're not going to score the finish. That's the way I'd be looking at it. It's to make use out of all the other people that's there. You have your own farmers that are being it, and then you have the advisors that are dealing with you all the time, and then you'll have all the specialists coming in, and to taking the stuff on and not to be taking maybe the easier routes with some of the stuff. You have to be trying to challenge yourself a bit with it. And anyone that's sort of going into it is sort of thinking about challenging themselves a bit anyway. So go for it, sort of thing.
Okay. Michael, the overall goal, I suppose, is to get at least 500 euros net margin per hectare, and both of you have increased your profitability on the farms. If you were to pinpoint other areas, say away from the grass utilisation, that you focus on to achieve this target?
Well, I suppose we put a full vaccination program in, and that was a big difference for me, because I wasn't vaccinating when I came in initially, and then I was vaccinating, and I still vaccinate now. I found that a huge difference. I basically increased probably doubled the number of calves that I brought in, and because I was growing more grass, I could feed more calves and stuff like that. But there was just a lot, and again, I'd reiterate what Christy says, you do meet some great people on it, and take their advice, and you know, I found that great. You go to different meetings and you will hear different perspectives, and if it's down just simple things, anything, just if you were to a calf shed, just someone that'll help you with advice, things like that, I found great, that helped. But I suppose in to answer, I suppose the vaccinations, stuff like that, a herd health plan, fertiliser plan, growing more grass, up the number of beef, up the amount of cattle, and kill more cattle was the big goal for me.
And because you got better quality grass and you were able to cut better quality silage, was this able to cut down on your feed cost during the winter period?
Yeah, definitely. And there was another thing that I wasn't doing was I wasn't silage tested, and basically I was grew really good quality silage, and that reduced my nut bill, my meal bill dramatically, you know, that sort of way. So things like that, yeah, I put more of awareness, more of a focus, and I got a lot from that way, because I wasn't experienced at the time when I entered the program on that sort of stuff.
Christy, 2018 was a trying year on all farms throughout the country. For the most part, 2019 is after starting off a little bit better. You're out of the program now 4 or 5 months. How have things been since then, and what's the plan for 2019 and into the future?
Well, when I started in the program, I had a lot of sucklers. They're all gone now. It's all calf to beef. I 90 something calves put in this time. The idea would be to push on with that and try and get them Frisian bullocks at 24 months and move that way. I think there's some bit of a twist in them. A lot of the other things is very hard to see any sort of a twist in them. But that's what I'd be trying to do, and then I know that I can do it better than I'm doing it. There's a couple of spots I seem to run into bother. Just try to come off the milk and change over onto grass. I seem to have some bit of an issue there for 2 months where you just wouldn't be getting what you should be doing. After that, they'll take off again. And again, in the back end, just before they go into the shed, to my mind, there's an issue there someplace that I have to get fully on top of. But you have to try and do it in blocks like that, and a bit of weighing to try and make sure to see where you're going. Because when you used to be in the milk, you'd know every 2 days whether you were doing right or wrong, because the milk tank could be up or down, or the jar would be up or down, and the weighing scales will do the same for that in the farming. I actually managed to buy weighing scales this year. It was the first year I was borrowing and using CBF and different things. I definitely think it's a way to go at it. That's the way I intend to head at it anyway. There's a lot of men looking into dairying and different things. I can't see myself changing too much from what I'm at. This is sort of what I was trying to stay at. But in around the 100, 110 calves, depending on how I can work it. Just around the 2 livestock units to the hectare, that is what I'd be trying to work on. If I can get that, I should have a bit of a buffer for the bad year, either let it be wet or dry, that you'd have a bit of silage built up. And it's better to have a bit left than be looking for it. That's what I intend to try at it anyway.
Okay. Michael, I'll finish off with you. I suppose, as you heard from Alan, what's new this year, for this phase, there's going to be 2 dedicated programme advisors. In your phase, you had Gordon peppered. It's after moving on to pastures new. How beneficial was it to have Gordon at the end of the phone for advice?
Gordon was with you once a month. You'd be talking to him definitely every week, or maybe sometimes a couple of times a week. Any advice he was on the end of the phone, or any decisions, kind of bigger decisions and different things. And listen, I found it great. I got on well with Gordon. He was easy to work with, that sort of way. There was never And you know, you get calls from Gordon at 8, 9 o'clock at night, like, you know, that sort of way. And he was committed, and I suppose, no, I thought really worked well with Gordon. But again, it was the fact he was so accessible. He'd answer the phone. If you didn't get him, he'd ring you back. And he was involved every step along. He knew what was going on. He had his finger on the pulse. And listen, yeah, no, I think it can only be a good thing to have two guys this time. You know, that sort of way. I think because at times Gordon was stretched, you know, that sort of way, but geographically. So I think it'd be a good thing to have the two lads this time.
Well, look, we'll leave it there. I just personally want to say thanks to the farmers that I've met already and the ones that I will meet in the next couple of months. You know, it's not easy to open the farm gate to a complete stranger and a camera. So on behalf of Ireland, I want to say we look forward to working with you into the future. And back to you, Claire.